and welcome to Crime Series, the channel dedicated to bringing you the most interesting true crime stories. If mysterious or dark stories pique your interest, please consider subscribing to our channel, as we post multiple times weekly, keeping you up to date with the most interesting and bizarre stories. Also, consider liking the video to help support our small channel. And please, feel free to comment any cases you would like to see us cover in any future videos. It's common knowledge to always expect the unexpected in life. Yet, a lot of times we still find ourselves baffled by some obstacles that are thrown our way. These life events can usually make us stronger or mentally break us down, but rarely do we ever leave the same. Sweden is known for its movie-like landscapes and teeming wildlife, and is fairly a peaceful area to live. The small village of Loftahammar is a small port in the well-known area of Småland on the southeast coast of Sweden. Home to only around 400 people in total, this small village is mainly an agricultural area, spanning out to 213 acres and peaking around 70 degrees Fahrenheit during its warmest months. Unfortunately, this would be home to one of the most bizarre cases to ever occur. Almost too unlikely to be true. One snowy day on September 2018, Agneta Westlund, age 63 at the time, decided to take her dog on a walk in the woods, as she often did. But unlike her usual stroll through the wooded land, she did not return home on this occasion. As time passed by and still no sign of Agneta, her husband, Ingemar Westlund, age 69, started to worry and found it very peculiar that his wife had still not returned home. So as any concerned husband would, he set out to search for her. Ingemar was very familiar with the trails, since walking the dog out in the woods was a normal occurrence for the family, and eventually he would find Agneta. Regrettably, the sight was far from normal. Ingemar would come across her battered body on the banks of a lake nearby. Distraught and distressed, Ingemar immediately called the authorities and directed them to his wife's lifeless body. But they were immediately puzzled as to who would harm Agneta, as they didn't have any apparent enemies and was seen in the community as a nice, close-knit family. Additionally, authorities did not suspect that there was some crazed killer in the woods, as there was no apparent signs of human footprints in the nearby snow, only adding further confusion to the scenario. However, they did manage to recover the family dog nearby. The fingers immediately started to point towards Ingemar, and speculation soon started to arise. As per usual with homicide cases, authorities usually look to clear the significant other first. But with no other witnesses, and the only piece of evidence appearing to be a strand of dog fur, they arrested Ingemar and charged him with the murder of his wife. Ingemar would spend 10 days in jail before being released, and will remain a suspect for another following 6 months, all while proclaiming his innocence. But it seems as if all of his pleas fell on deaf ears, as he quickly became an outcast, with nobody wanting to associate with the man suspected of killing his wife. Unbeknownst to Ingemar, the authorities will eventually have all charges against him dropped. In response, they stated that they had recognized the real perpetrator, a drunken elk. Authorities came to this conclusion only after testing the strand of fur that they believed originally to be no more than dog fur, and a saliva sample found on Agneta's body, which showed that both samples came from a European elk, a common animal found around Sweden. They believed that while Agneta was out walking her dog, she stumbled upon an elk, eating fermented apples, upon which her dog approached and antagonized the animal. The European elk is far from a small creature, These animals can get up to 1,000 pounds and are very aggressive around their newborn. Males also get very aggressive around the fall time when in a rut in order to show dominance to compete for a female. There are estimated to be around 300,000 to 400,000 elk that roam through Sweden, sometimes feeding on wild apples. Fermented apples affect elk similarly to how alcohol affects humans, which caused the elk to brutally attack Agneta to her death, authorities speculate. To be honest, it sounded too crazy to be true, so I had to do the research on the topic, and it appears that this theory is met with wide criticism. It's noted that while elk do feed on fermented apples, some scientists say that the elk's sheer size is too great for it to become intoxicated. Nevertheless, forensic evidence had already cleared Ingmar of the crime, and all evidence pointing towards a European elk. Sadly, Ingmar had already endured the worst of it all. After not only losing his wife to such unlikely circumstances, but to be portrayed as her killer as well. I couldn't even imagine what it must have felt like for Ingmar to have some of the closest ones to him suspect him of murdering someone he loved the most. Friends, family, neighbors, your own community. Who do you trust? Not to mention the emotions rushing through his mind in the midst of being labeled the murderer of his spouse. The misery, the agony, the confusion. It's stated that when attending his wife's funeral with his children, the 300 others in attendance actually suspected Ingmar of killing his own wife. Surprisingly, to our knowledge, it is said that the perpetrator is still at large to this day. And that concludes the end to this episode of Crime Series. Tell us your thoughts on this wild case in the comments down below. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And please, subscribe if you want more true crime content. Also, if you support the channel and want exclusive content, then be sure to subscribe to our Patreon. Thanks for sticking to the end of the video. Stay safe, everybody.